Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader, where today the Commissar has gotten his comeuppance, and with that loose end tied. What den? Well, this den, of course. Let us survey our new realm and see what else we can actually do here. The Resistance fighters are looking at you with a mixture of fear and deep respect. They do not have the guts to break the silence and speak to you. The Commissar is no more, as are those who foolishly chose to take his word over mine. Are there any objections? The Commissar's former fighters shake their heads in fear. No, none, your lordship. I said it before, but it bears repeating. Jaakko Sotny is not an actual Commissar. He killed a Commissar and stole his clothes. He was actually an accomplice to our Xenos hunters. His true intent was to send you to the arena to die, much as he tried to do with me. A shocked murmur runs through the ranks. One fighter sobs, his face twisted in grief, while another whispers a string of curses, his fists clenched. One of the warriors, a woman with a stern face and a grim voice, says firmly, "Then there is no hope. We are doomed to remain captives of the Xenos. But a clean death is a better fate by far. May we beg your lordship to grant us the Emperor's peace?" I'll do more than that. Emperor is my witness. I will do everything within my power to free you from this place. In a united impulse, the crowd falls to its knees before you. You see their eyes, awestruck and warm like sunlight, as they offer their many-voiced prayer to the Emperor. You hear your name uttered over and over again. Yeah, don't get too excited. I'm not sure I can actually do that, but, we'll see. I need to take stock of the resources available. Are there any other stashes that I have not yet discovered? Something Malice or the Commissar may have hidden, perhaps? One of the Resistance fighters points to a container filled to the brim with loot. This is everything we found in this vile den. We searched all of that sly Xenos' secret caches and stashes. And you, Mel? Anything you might like to add? Might not be a bad idea to be in my good graces before I pass judgment. Who can say, humanling? You can tear the den apart piece by piece. You can torture me. You will find nothing. We Slith know how to shut out our sense of pain, and will suppressors have no effect on us. So there is only one way you can get your hands on my treasures. Open the cage, give me a knife, get on your knees, and let me carve your throat open. I will reveal the secret to you as you die. Tempting. But, perhaps a might bit too cutthroat. Jaakko, anything you might like to share? Regrets, perhaps? The Commissar, whose proud features are utterly ruined, says in a gurgling voice, "Enjoy your little victory while you can. Kamarog will rip your head off quicker than it did mine. Then we'll see who'll be sitting in whose cage." Well, if it's any consolation, I don't really see you sitting in my cage for long. I didn't even want you there in the first place. In fact, you know what? Given the nature of your crimes, both against me and your fellow Imperial citizens, I can think of no sentence more fitting. than to feed you to the same arena that you fed so many others to. To the arena? No, please. Could I please stay in this cage? Please. The commissar's feigned pride evaporates in an instant, leaving behind a thrashing, frightened animal. I'm sure I'll do great. I'm giving him the same chance he gave me. So, Mal, any regrets on your part? Malice's entire body is covered in grisly wounds. One of his arms is nearly torn off and hangs by a thread. A human would have long since died from such injuries, but Malice does not even look like he's on his last legs, for he has none. Laugh away, humanling. You've won. Betray the one who aids you. That's life in the spires. I mean, it doesn't have to be. Despite what you might think, I do in fact appreciate that you saved my life, even if you did treat my ongoing survival as a game. A point of amusement to see whether or not I'd live or die. But it's because of you that I do now find myself in a position of relative power. And while I would offer you a position in my retinue, I can't imagine you'd take well to that. So instead, how about this? You're free to go. You can enjoy whatever stashes you've kept to yourself. No throat cutting required. Make the most of it. Malice stares at you with suspicion and says cautiously, "Do not think that I will forget or forgive." That is fair. Reeling, the slithers away while looking straight at you without blinking, either in expectation of a sudden strike, or to avoid making eye contact with anyone else. I'm gonna miss him. Shame he couldn't be a companion. Would have been fun to have a chill and slightly sinister Snake Man in my squad. That is one big miss I think this game had, which is a lack of, really unusual companions. But I suppose it is also the first official Rogue Trader CRPG, so perhaps they'll get more fanciful in future installments. That said, we've got a moment to catch our breath, so let's chat a few folks up. But not all of them. We'll do like 3, then we'll go hit the arena. I would like to get Ulfar in here. The commissar repeatedly clutches at his throat, racked by a bloody, gurgling cough. Darn, poor guy. With a creak of his battered lasgun, Vigastus struggles to salute you. Your lordship. Vigastus? Tell me, how'd you end up here in the first place? Not one of mine, are you? I served on a frigate, the Watchman of the Abyss. I got captured by a Drukhari boarding party. They took me to Kamarog and threw me aboard one of their gondolas, bound for who knows where. With the last of my strength, I grabbed the pilot and jumped down into the chasm. The Xenos' body cushioned my fall, so somehow I survived. That's where the commissar found me, before betraying me and sending me to die in the arena. I swear to you, I knew not what I was condemning you to. Sister, I'll be honest with you. When I was there, being skewered on spikes like a bug, I cursed your name too, more than once. But when you were there pulling me off those spikes, one look at your face was enough to know that you'd been just as much a victim of that sick man's lies as the rest of us. I do not blame you. What can you tell me about our friend, the commissar? I assume he fed you the same story he told me? I don't know if he's a real commissar or not, but he's an exceptional liar and sadist. His method was simple. Find people on the streets of the chasm, give them hope that there's a way out of this place, then recruit them to his resistance. A few stirring speeches, food, shelter, a beat-up lasgun. That's all it took for us gullible simpletons to believe we could escape Kamarog. Once he'd found enough volunteers, the commissar sent me and the others on a special mission to capture a ship for our escape. By an incredible stroke of luck, he got a hold of a portal that conveniently led straight to the docks. That creep. I still remember seeing the smug smile on his face as I entered the portal. As you may have figured, the portal didn't exactly lead to the vessel of our salvation. We were just cattle for his Drukhari cronies, and our misery and shock at having been betrayed was like a tasty snack for them. We fought back as best we could, but the sergeant falls silent. Well, hang in there, Vig. We'll find a way out of here yet. Just you wait. Or, die trying. Emperor protect you, your lordship. Yep, you too. Alright. Let's do 2 more. We'll save Yurliet for later, since that's probably going to get pretty complicated. So I'm thinking Abby and Pask. They're both still recovering from their recent experiences.
Lord Captain, I serve at your pleasure.
At your approach, Abelard straightens and grunts in pain as something in his back crunches. Hey, bud. How you holding up?
I am fit and well, Lord Captain. All that remains is for us to get out of this infernal place alive, return to our vessel, and then my answer to your question will be magnificent.
Glad to hear it. Look, Abby, I've got to ask. Any more hallucinations since Tervantius fixed you up?
I have not seen her, Lord Captain. But there are times when I think I hear her laughing in the distance. Or I sense hands touching me, as she used to do, to distract me from my sorrowful ruminations. But I know the difference between reality and fantasy. Now I fear I shall simply have to learn to live with this ghost that appears only to me. With this vision of the past.
Abelard hesitates. After a few moments, he sighs and hangs his head. Ah, buddy, I'm sorry. But I'm right there with you. We're all haunted by our pasts, albeit in different ways. Any thoughts on how we might make our escape, now that this whole thing with the commissar has fallen through?
I am sorry to say I do not. If we had our ship and crew at our disposal, we could be safely within its walls, conduct reconnaissance of this place, and in the end, meet our deaths in battle against the Xenos, as befits true servants of the God Emperor. However, we are deprived of our usual resources. Now we can only rely on our weapons and our wits.
Well, that's worked for us in the past. Let's hope this time's no exception. Anything else you've picked out since we got here?
No, Lord Captain. And trust me, I hope to remain in this state of blissful ignorance until my dying day. Just knowing that this abyss exists at all is enough to poison my mind.
Yeah, I get that.
It is possible the Xenos Iliad could tell you something about this place. After all, she is in some way related to its denizens. And she is responsible for the fact that we are here at all.
Abelard falls silent, but his eyes make it clear what he thinks of the Aldari's return to the ranks of your companions. Well, you're not wrong. Abelard nods wordlessly and closes his eyes, both out of a desire to sleep and a desire not to see his surroundings, even for a short time. I think that went about as well as we probably could have hoped. Pask, how about you? How you holding up, bud?
May these instructions protect the machine spirits that serve me from the blasphemies of corrupted technology.
Pascal is deeply focused on drawing protective runes with sacred unguents on the metal surfaces of his mechadendrites. So, guess we've gone and gotten ourselves betrayed again, huh? Certainly not the first time. Honestly, this has happened so much, I'm not even sure I can get mad about it anymore. Really just seems like business as usual.
Reverse analysis is showing the act of sabotage to have been predictable. The directives for interacting with xenoraces warn about non-humans' proclivity for breaching contracts. The data concerning the unreliability of the unit, Iliad, has been archived.
Pascal's voice is dry and indifferent, but his drilling mechadendrite roars menacingly. I mean, let's not go crazy. We've been betrayed by plenty of humans, too. Conrad, Vyat, Delphine, Adalbert. I'm just saying, treachery certainly isn't the exclusive domain of Xenos. So how you holding up? With the implants and all.
Comprehension in progress. The operating principles of xeno-augmetics, while alien to the canon blessed by the Deus Mechanicus, are nonetheless quantifiable. They feed, as parasites do, on my blood and the charge of my potentia coil. I, in turn, feed on their mystery as I nurse new comprehension within me. It is painful. It is necessary.
The hissing from the Vox is reminiscent of a tortured groan. You think you've got it under control, or is there risk of further complications?
This statement is partly true. I have introduced protective equations into the algorithmic chain to guard the digital spirit against the corruption of heresy. The xeno-augmetics embedded in my flesh are yet to be comprehended. The lack of knowledge is painful. But by the Omnissiah's grace, my analysis will conquer their mysteries. Martyrdom is the path to knowledge.
Yeah, I hear you there. I've always admired your pragmatic nature. So any thoughts on how we might actually get out of this place?
Strategic recommendation. Analysis has shown that the non-human community is racked by strife. Exploiting the Xenos mutual differences can result in temporary alliances that will provide the technological means of returning the unit from Valancius to real space.
Yeah, that's my thought too. We do seem to have gained some decent traction with this whole Trivantius thing. So what do you think of Kamarog? I know it's a bit of a nightmare, but this must be a very valuable chance to gather all sorts of interesting new data.
This place is calling out to the Omnissiah for an act of purifying and gracious Xeno-side. The spatial disharmony observed here points to its anathematic nature. That being said, complete extermination is not advised. Those in possession of technological knowledge should be rounded up and subjected to interrogation and vivisection prior to disposal.
Pragmatic as ever. Glad to see you haven't lost your edge, bud. Just hang in there.
May the filters of knowledge bestowed upon us by the machine god protect us from the temptations and horrors of blasphemous revelations.
Copy-paste.
May your labors be effective and fruitful.
Ditto, kiddo. Which just leaves Argenta and Yurliet. But we'll save them for after we've collected our Ulfar. Let's go hit the arena. Oh, right, I guess we have to go talk to Marazai too. He's still hanging about waiting for us. I guess we'll do that first. Hey, nice. Tracking boots. Whenever the wearer's Hot on the Trail extra turn is triggered, the wearer gains +1 AP and agility bonus MP for this extra turn. Bounty Hunter ability, we don't have that one. And Stabilizing Gauntlets. When the wearer uses Run and Gun, they gain +1 damage on their range attacks and do not suffer winded. Oh, wow. That's actually not bad at all, though sadly, I believe Argenta has the recoil gloves on, which are pretty indispensable for her current build. And then we also had this one down here. Ah, just more cargo. But that's fine, we'll take it. And on we go. Marazai. The tall Drukhari, whose body is riddled with painful-looking puncture wounds and dotted with metal rings and clamps, lets out a chuckle as you approach, and begins speaking in his own language. Your elucidator hisses to life, translating the words. Look, Carrion. Is this the monkey that cost you your place at the Archon's side? Marazai's eyes flare with turquoise fire at the sight of you. An immediate, uncontrollable urge to kill. The Drukhari seizes the blades hanging from his belt, and freezes at the shout of the metal-studded Xenos. Careful with the meat for the arena, Marazai. If Sinisthoria is short on toys for her fighters, you will be punished again. She seems to enjoy pitting you against Chimera. Maybe this time she won't deem it necessary to give you back your skin after you slay them all. The motionless Marazai turns his head towards his kin, and you notice a thin red stripe on his neck below his ear, like a fresh stitch. Shaking with barely contained rage, the former Drakon stares at you with dark eyes. Oh no, Marazai, say it ain't so. I can't imagine how terrible it must be, getting tortured and broken by others for their own twisted amusement. It's almost enough to bring a tear to the eye. Or, maybe that's just a lingering side effect from the mind maggot you stuck in my head. Despite the impotent rage on his face, Marazai manages a sarcastic chuckle. Something wriggling in your eye? I see Tevantius has not changed his methods for handling specimens. Yeah, you sure told me. So, Aebyss, right? Abyss? I take it you and these bloody proselyte weights are the local champs? Abyss frowns at the sound of the elucidator and turns away from you dismissively, exchanging a few words with the witch standing next to him. The mocking laughter and haughty looks in your direction leave no doubt about the subject of their conversation. That's fine. You'll be dead soon enough. So Marzai, no love lost between you and your new friends here, huh? That's rough, buddy. Marzai casts a contemptuous glance at the witches, and without hesitation switches to low Gothic. This witch cult scum is not my kin. Half-borns like Aebyss belong here in the filth of the chasm. He cuts himself off, his gloves squeaking in protest as he clenches his fists. Charming. So I'm guessing that whole trial thing didn't quite work out the way you had hoped? Seemed like your ploy actually worked, but no one actually liked you enough to let you win. The Drukhari narrows his eyes. Devantius's creations must have been a low-grade imitation if the mirage did not completely overwhelm you. Even if what you say is true, what is it to you? Oh, is this the part where we're supposed to recruit him? I mean, it's not really much of a secret. He's been plastered all over social media at this point. I know he's a potential companion. And, you know, I've got to say, I just don't see that happening. He has killed and maimed a lot of people. We don't really need him at this point, and even if we did forge an alliance of convenience, it would only be a matter of time before we put him out an airlock. To me? Oh, nothing, really. I just wanted to remind you about your failure before you end up dying in the arena. Marazai's voice fills with venom. Oh no, monkey. I will live long enough to ensure such a death for you. That's the spirit. Abyss's expression turned sour. I am tired of this noise. We must go, proselytes. It is time for our next training session. Bye, Marzai. They seem nice. I imagine that'll be like our final arena fight after we've worked our way up the chain. Oh, brilliant and glorious master, I have done as you requested, and existed in the same general proximity as the proselytes. I had some questions about the logistics of your grand plan. Gervantius pauses before responding, as if dissecting your question inside his head. Ask. Well, I was just curious, what is the exact root of the issue between you and the witches? Lately, they have shown arrogance and disrespect toward me. They want to rise in the eyes of the Archon and belittle me. They rank their tasteless flesh dances above my art. They come to my abode to gawk at my treasured secrets. It is time the chasm was reminded that witches, too, can bleed. Sure. But they basically run the local arena, right? That does sound like it's pretty important. Yes, witches rule the arenas. This is the way of the spires. They are lethal brides of our dead gods. When they enter the arena, the crowd writhes with ecstasy. But this is a rare sight. Typically, their fosterlings, the blood-stained proselytes, oversee the butchery. These are the best killers and athletes who serve the cult. Such arrogant upstarts. They have been undefeated for far too long. When Sinistoria reigned over the cult of the Fatal Thirst, the proselytes behaved with more respect. But the senior succubus has since withdrawn into the shadows. Now Kikaros reigns in the arena, and Tazara leads the raids. An insolent hag and a presumptuous non-entity. The perfect match. As soon as Tazara drew her final breath, Kikaras's ambitions doubled. She became utterly insufferable. And how exactly does Marazai fit into all this? I thought he was some sort of hoity-toity Drukhari officer. Your Liette gives you a concerned look. Your memory must have been weakened by the deleterious effects of the controlling worm. The Archon's court condemned him. Hush you. That brazen, ambitious, and woefully impudent whelp. He was cast down from the Drakons of the Cabal, but earned the good graces of the Witches of the Fatal Thirst in his very first fight in the arena. He was invited to join their finest, the blood-stained proselytes. Some say he was involved in the death of their succubus, Tazara. If so, then Marazai may be disappointed by his reception in the ranks of the cult. Oh, that poor guy. My heart bleeds for him. I think there's still some shrapnel stuck in there. So, Master, how exactly do you fit into all this, with the arena and the Fatal Thirst? My servant harvests meat in the chasm, and delivers it to their bloody performances. I improve it with augments and stimulants to make it interesting enough so the witches will enjoy killing it. Sometimes I indulge them with little treats, biomachines or beasts, molded by my surgical genius. Wow, so you basically keep the whole chasm running. Truly, you are the greatest and smartest and handsomest, Sorry, my feeble monkey brain cannot put your gloriousness into words. The homunculus smirks. Not just the chasm. The entire cabal of the Reaving Tempest depends on my augments and essences, which is how I secured the chasm as my domain. Here I never lack for subjects, or spare parts. Sure, yeah, you're the life of the spare party. You can hear impatience creaking in Tervantius's voice as he says, "Have you enough information now, specimen?" You know what? I think I do. Don't suppose I could grab Ulfar on my way out? Nope, guess not. Alright, well, if you'll excuse me, I've got Drukhari to kill. See you shortly, boss. Yeah, so let's go hit the arena, knock out that second fight. Then hopefully we'll be in a good position to recruit our Space Marine. If thou seest a flaw in me, smite me. Argenta's hoarse whispers are nothing like the usual clear, almost mellifluous voice she uses for prayer. Smite me. Argenta, you good? She looks up at you, her dark eyes gleaming anxiously. Rogue trader, you find me at prayer. Darkness surrounds us, and we will require all the spiritual fortitude our ravaged hearts can muster. Oh, I take it you're still feeling pretty rough about the role you played in the Commissar's con? Argenta hangs her head. Yes, I am. I was the one who found those people. I brought them to the Commissar. I prayed for them. And I gave them hope. And he sent them to an abattoir to die for those monsters' amusement. They might have, in their final moments, they might have thought that I, too, had betrayed them. I once more failed to see wickedness where I should have seen it. I failed those people, loyal and brave. But it is not only that. I thought naively that faith and perseverance had helped me, cut through the schemes of the foul Xenos, that we were on a path to freedom. In truth, though, it was all just another part of the act, and the vile monsters must have been cackling with glee as they observed my foolishness. Look, Argenta, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There is a conversation to be had about your impulsive and short-sighted nature, but for now, don't dwell on the past, learn from it. And just hang in there. We'll make it through this together. Thank you for the words of solace, rogue trader. Argenta pauses, contemplating something. A shadow crosses her face, followed by a flash of unreadable emotion. Tell me, rogue trader, do you trust me? Please, look into your heart and tell me what you see. I mean, that's kind of a loaded question, considering you did once threaten to shoot me in the face. I trust that you are trying your best to be a good and faithful ally. Your zeal just gets in the way sometimes, is all. But what if I am undeserving of your trust? Rogue trader, to lose hope is to err in the eyes of the Emperor, and I am drawing closer to erring than ever before. The darkness all around me thickens, and the clutches of our captors are strong. If I am to give myself fully to the battle ahead, I will need all my strength. And to summon such strength, I must purge my soul. Tell me, will you hear my confession? Argenta, is there something you want to tell me? I killed Theodora von Valancius. Yeah, that tracks. What? Juliet raises her head slightly and looks around, clearly not fully understanding what is wrong, but sensing the shift in the mood around her. Yes, it was me. Not your treacherous kin, Voitvir. Not the cultists. Me. She speaks with a strange blend of pride and horror in her voice. I remember every last detail. The ship was under attack. I grabbed my weapon and I ran to her side, because I thought it was my duty to protect the Emperor's chosen. And what did I witness when I burst into her study? Theodora von Valancius, a rogue traitor, holding a sinister sorceress artifact, radiating with profane light. It was a lens like the ones we saw in the Rycad system, except it was smaller and far more potent. I instantly knew it to be a weapon of the archenemy. I had seen objects like it before. On Salus Prime, the planet where I had sought the sacred relic, and where I had nearly died at the hands of cultists. So many things were made clear to me in that moment. So piercing was the revelation, so obvious the answer to how those heretics had found their way to a planet known to none but those of House von Valancius. I fired before I could even fully comprehend what I was seeing. Terra's light must have guided my hand, for one shot was all it took. The bolter discharge destroyed both the archenemy's artifact and its owner's black heart. But Mort, I did not regret killing her, nor do I regret it now. Theodora had succumbed to the archenemy and its dark sorcery. The entire attack on the ship was merely the result of her and Voitvir feuding over their spoils. And I realized it in my heart the moment I saw the artifact in her hand. But standing in that same room was the honorable arch-militant, a devout servant of the Emperor, and the reason I had made it off Salus Prime after the cultist attack. When he saw me firing at Theodora, he instinctively rushed to protect her. I killed him, too. Argento lowers her gaze for a moment. Poor Mort. I joke about it a bit, but yeah, he did get it rough. Didn't even get a proper portrait. Though, to be fair, he was hanging out right there while Theodora was playing with heretical artifacts. Also, yeah, I guess it was, in fact, a lens, as I originally speculated, not a container of tech plague. Do you remember the orphans I once asked you to meet with, Rogue Trader? One of the boys was the son of the man I killed. My whole life I had sworn I would not allow villains to orphan children of the Imperium. And then I did so myself. Lady Theodora, Mort, fell at the hand of the one meant to protect the servants of the God Emperor. I never doubted the security of the Von Valancius bloodline when you were close. But now the very foundations on which the power of the rogue traders rests seem to have been violated. Abelard looks at Argenta with a visceral loathing in his eyes, uncovered by either courtesy or respect. Argenta looks at you anxiously, waiting for your reaction. So you've just been sitting on this entire time. Yes, I have. And I despised myself for doing so. Sisters of Battle are taught to laugh in the face of lies and intrigue, but instead I feared that I would face immediate execution for the murder of the rogue trader. I hoped that people would think it was Voitvir or the cultists who had killed her, and I was right. But that lie, it burned in my throat, and here in this horrific reality, away from Terra's light, I realized that I could keep my silence no longer. The fact that you felt the need to tell me this, I assume that's a sign you regret what you did? Theodora may have had it coming, but there's a time and a place for everything. Acting with such short-sighted, reckless abandon gets a lot of innocent people hurt or killed. Yes, I regret the deaths of innocents every waking moment. But how could I avert my eyes from heresy? That goes against my very nature. I am glad I have revealed the truth to you, Rogue Trader. This dishonesty has been driving me out of my mind. Oh, are we done? I mean, I feel like I didn't actually close things out, but okay. Well, I was really just trying to make sure she actually regretted what she did before passing judgment, but, apparently that was passing judgment. Which I guess is fair. I mean, otherwise I was really just going to lean into the whole what's done is done thing, and to tell her to learn from it and move on. Though, this might be good reason to swing back by the den real quick, just to have a follow-up chat with her. I was going to put that off until after the arena fight, but this might justify going back to chat with her first. But only if she does, in fact, have something new to say. It also does make me curious about what Adira would have to say. She's kind of dropped hints in the past that there was something wrong with Argenta, and I'd wager it's this. The constant guilt just festering inside her. It's an interesting reveal, but, you know, it's one we have kind of seen coming for quite a while now. I think I settled on it, I want to say like 30, 40 episodes back. Because, as I've said before, the main issue with that early initial mystery is that the suspect pool, the initial suspect pool, is just far too narrow to really keep you guessing. You know, you've only got, like, what, 5 named characters during that whole opening arc that it could possibly be. It obviously wasn't Abby. Adira seemed pretty unlikely. Voitvir seemed genuinely surprised when it was brought up. Mort and Ethelthred are dead, as was the original Navigator. So unless they were going to hit you with a complete curveball, with it ending up being someone like the Inquisitor who teleported in, or the Drukhari who sent an assassin after her, or some other character that didn't appear until much later in the game, somehow retroactively being inserted in that opening sequence, there was just really no one else it could be, you know. You had your loyal Seneschal, you had your loyal Psychic, and you had your murderous, newly arrived Zealot. Though to be fair, actually, in retrospect at this point, that new DLC does kind of muddy the waters a bit, because that also introduces the concept that you had other characters around as well. The Death Cult, the Gene Stealers, etc. That various new supporting cast and crew. But, you know, again, just from a meta standpoint, clearly it wasn't going to be any of them. I guess it is kind of interesting in that it shows that everything that's happened since then was all set into motion by the impulsive actions of a single zealot. You know, if not for Argenta, Voitvir's plans may have otherwise gone off without a hitch. Theodora would have survived that entire encounter, would have remained the rogue traitor, humiliated by Voitvir's machinations, and then who knows how things would have gone from there. With Theodora becoming increasingly paranoid and desperate to save face, to salvage her grand plans, to restore her protectorate and reputation, which, you know, given her predilections, I'm sure would have led to its own series of new, colorful disasters. That said, interesting to see it play out, even if I have suspected it for some time now. I'll be curious to see the aftermath. I mean, I really have to wonder how it would play out if you didn't have her here with you. But perhaps someone can tell me that down in the comments below. We'll hit the pause button for now. I'll go swing by the den real quick off screen just to see if she does, in fact, have anything new for us. And we will pick up here next time. Either with a quick follow-up chat, or with some bloody carnage. I mean, we're getting both either way. The only thing that'll change is the order they play out in. See you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Eerie V23, Revenant, Alois, Dragon Matrix 7, Drakiith, EgonAlter, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Kazorm, Lady Shayna, Mark Giemza, Nathan Welch Jr., OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.
Magnificent.